All right, as we start, I sent you an email, and that email has in it two things. It's got some prologue text, so like a comment that we can use at the beginning, and it's got the images that we're going to use for this. So I'm going to grab both of these, download both. Maybe I already have it on here, I don't know. All right, the way I would like to do this then is I'd like us to get into a balsamic mock-up, and we'll mock up the way we want this to look, all right? And it's not going to be perfect. I wish I had printed out a copy. I have been working on it this morning. I did some stuff. I took an old version. I completely rewrote it because I thought it kind of stunk. All right, so before we go in and do this, I'm going to start up balsamic mockup. Are you still loading it?
No, I already got it on.
You got it? Okay, good. Did you put the key in and stuff too then?
No.
You're going to have to do that because I've got to do that too. Here. So again, it's in the email I sent you, and it's all of this. See this? It's every bit of it. It's over 3 lines. All of that, including the equal signs on the end. They're really weird the way they set up their keys here, but whatever. Tell me when you got that. All right, then go over to help, then go down to register. And it should say you should be in this box here. You should be able to paste that in. I love this. The license appears to be valid. Okay, that's good. You gave it to me, so it'd be really nice if it wasn't, I suppose. Now this lasts till the end of this calendar year. That's not going to affect you, but come fall, I'm going to contact them about getting a new license, which will be till like basically the end, I think, of 2022. Okay? All right. Okay. So I'm just going to come in here and draw the way I foresee this looking. Okay? So the reason I'm doing this is when you are doing your project, your semester project, you have to do a wireframe for each page that's going to be in there. We're only going to have 2 pages. We're only going to wireframe one of them up right now. I know I don't care that much about the other one, at least right now. All right, so let's see. I think we can come into this quick add here, and I can type in title. Yep. All right, so start by going up here where it's got this quick add thing up in the upper right hand corner. With me? Put your mouse in there, click, and just type in title. And then drag it, and then it says a big title here. Okay? To change that, you just double click on it, and we're going to put in here rock, paper, scissors. I don't know, just app is fine. Something like that. All right? Now, I'm not that concerned, at least right now, with getting all this, in here perfectly, etc. It looks okay the way it is. All right? Now, what we want to do, and don't do this yet, but look up on the screen. If I go to this quick add and I type in image, you notice there's an image. That's not what I want. I actually want buttons with images on them, and I don't think they have that capability on this tool. So all we're going to do is we're going to add 3 buttons. So buttons are right here. button. Nope, I don't like that one. That's a pointy button. I don't want a pointy button. Alright, so come up to the quick add and type in button. There it is. Yeah, looks like that's all we got. Alright, so there's my first button. And again, it'll end up having, we're going to make it an image button in our actual program. And I'm going to click on here and I'm going to type in rock, and then I'm going to copy it and paste it, and next to that I'm going to put in paper, and then I'm going to paste it again, and I'm going to put in scissors. Questions on that? Problems with that? Again, this is the kind of thing you are going to be expected to do. Alright? Then, just to try to keep this easy, because I don't want to waste a lot of time doing this, we're going to put in 2 more buttons. And I literally put them here and here. They look fairly centered like that, okay? And this first one is going to say clear. And the second one is going to say stats. I don't care if your button's on here. We're going to actually be using image buttons, so just the fact that I put it in uppercase doesn't matter at all. Okay? So, pretty obvious, hopefully, what this means so far. When we click this, we're choosing rock. When we click this, we're choosing paper. When we click this, we're choosing scissors. All right? We're not going to implement the stat stuff until tomorrow. So, when we start, this button right here is going to be disabled. Don't worry about doing it here, of course, but it will be disabled. All right? So the next, I'm going to grab this thing, this text right here. I'm going to copy it and I'm going to paste it down here. And I'm just going to type in here winner, because that's going to be the name of the winner. It's going to either say the user won, the computer won, or tie game. Does that make sense to both of you? All right. And then finally, underneath this, we are going to have an image view, so I'm going to put an image in there. So I'm going to go up to Quick Add. I'm going to find image. There it is. Drag it out a bit, make it a little higher. All right. And that's going to literally have a picture that's going to say you won, or it's going to say computer won, or whatever, or tie. Does that make sense? And then finally, and I'm just going to copy this one more time here. I'm going to copy the winner one. And down below that, I'm going to put this. And we're going to put the results in as a toast. So that pretty much is it as far as the way the mock-up is going to go for this. Does that make sense to both of you? Questions on anything? Again, this is going to be a lot bigger. It's going to be a few lines long, okay? Now, just so you know, I put a ton of constants in this program. There's a lot of them in there. And I played around with it this morning. The way that I did it previously, I didn't like it at all. I like this, the way I'm doing it now, better. Now, the thing is, I didn't finish it. So we're just going to go as far as we can go today. I've got most of it working for this page, if not all of it. So let's, right now, let's right mouse click on here and choose duplicate. Okay? And this is still going to say rock, paper, scissors, app, but change the word app to stats. So it says rock, paper, scissors, stats. All right. We're not going to have any of this stuff in there, so we can delete that. In fact, we can just delete everything. All right. And where it says, see over here where it says, oh, let's see. I think we want some text when we check. Nope, that ain't it. That's not what we want. Text over here. Just drag text in. Okay. And as of right now, it looks pretty ugly. stretch it out, and down. Because our statistics page is just going to basically say, it's going to be real simple. It's going to say total number of ties, total number of computer wins, total number of user wins. Does that make sense? I'm not going to go and worry about putting any of this text in. It's totally fine the way it is. All right. What we should do, though, is let's go up back to the first one. Right mouse click on it and choose rename. And let's just call it what it is. So let's call this one main activity. And then let's right mouse click on the other one and we'll rename that one and we'll call it stats activity. Okay? Questions on any of that? All right. Then I'm going to come up here and do a file, save project. Now save it where you normally save things. I'm going to keep it right on the desktop here. You don't want to call it new project 1.bmpr. I'm just going to call mine one word. I'm going to run it all together. Rock, paper, not pepper, paper, scissors.bmpr. So now I can bring that up again tomorrow, hopefully, when we do the other page. All right, if there's anything that I decide we have to change on there. Does that make sense to both of you? All right. Some of the points that will be on your final project will be based on you doing this. And I mean, you saw how fast we did this. All right. Okay. I'm going to close that then. And it's telling me there's already a new version. Oh boy. What the heck? I'll just install it. I don't care. All right, so we're up to here. So start up a new Android project, please. As always, it'll be empty. Go to next. And I don't know if I've got one on here because I've done it now in 2 or 3 languages. Now I'm looking here. Let's see. Yeah, I do have one called rock, paper, scissors on here. That's not even it. So let's see. I'll put that one over here. That should not work. So I'm going to call it rock, paper, scissors. I'm going to run all 3 words together, and I'm going to capitalize the beginning of each word. Rock, paper, scissors. All right. Make sure your language is Java, of course. Make sure that it's being saved where you want it to be saved. And your package name should be what you've been doing your package name as, and then at the end, rock, paper, scissors. Correct? All right. So click finish. And I'm going to come in here. I'm going to immediately make this bigger so you can see it. Now, the way that we're going to do this, because I've said this to you before, it's so flaky, sitting there and dragging this over and dragging this over and dragging this up, etc. I've done all that already. So I'm going to basically, in just a minute, we're going to fill in the activity main from our code rather than from our design. You with me? Okay. Before we do that, and again, the order in which we do what we're about to do really and truly wouldn't matter, but open up your res folder and your values folder, and let's open up colors. I just put 2 more colors in here. Again, you don't like my colors, go ahead and choose your own. It really and truly doesn't matter. You're not turning this in anyway. But the first one, of course I did this, there you go. The first one I said color name equal light blue, just make it 1 word. And it is pound AWD8E6. And what you should see if you look on the side is it's kind of a tealish type of color. All right. And we're going to make 1 more. And I call this one light yellow. And it is pound FFF9A6. Now, is that big enough? right there that you can both read it okay? Okay. And hopefully you notice again, it's later yellow right over here, correct? All right, let's do a file, save as right away, or save all, I guess. And we can close the colors one up. That's all we're doing with colors for this whole thing. But I'd like you to open up strings next. We're going to create our strings file right away. Okay. And this is going to have, well, 8 or 9, something like that, strings in it. So let me leave that. Okay. String name equals, I call this main title. You can call it again whatever you want. We could have called it activity or main activity title. Maybe that would have been a better name. All right. What you really should start doing though is getting, comfortable with your own naming convention, whatever it is, and just stick to it. Okay? All right. And this is just going to be called rock, paper, scissors. We said app, I believe, on the balsamic mock-up thing. Okay? That'll be for the first activity. The second activity, I called it stats title because it's going to be for the other page. And I kept it very close, except, well, instead of it saying rock, paper, scissors app, it is going to say rock, paper, scissors stats. All right. Next, what we have to put in when you were working with images, it expects there to be what's called a content description. It's kind of the equivalent of an alt tag. All right. And if you don't put it in this file, you're going to get one of those where it comes up and it's yellow and you get the yellow triangle. And it's going to give you a warning that says content description should be defined in this file. So we're going to define it in here. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 of these. And again, I call them what they are: content, description, rock, all one word, and I put in there rock. And I'm just going to copy it 2 more times. And then paper. And then scissors. We're also going to have an image view where we're going to have the image in there of whoever won. That one needs a content description as well. So, content description, and I call this IV winner. It's the image view's winner. And I just put here winner image. All right. 2 more things and we're finished with this. And that's it. I'll leave that up there for a second. Again, I do file save all. Am I right in assuming you're both comfortable with the first 2 files that we've done and what they're doing, etc.? Because if you're not, it's your time to ask. Okay, good. So, let's see. Sure.
When you said we were entering certain things, on one section of this we weren't supposed to use capitals. Which section is that?
You are not supposed to use capitals. You'll see this in just a minute when you go over to a drawable and you copy in images. Okay. Those images, the .pings, the .gifs, the .jpegs should not have capital letters in them. For some reason, it just doesn't accept them. Now, Keegan asked a question yesterday too. He said, I put in that GIF and it's not showing. In other words, it's not moving up and down like it had been. And so I went and checked that out this morning, and they said with the last version that they put in here, it's not being supported like that anymore. All right. The way that you have to do it is you have to write a lot more code. You have to put it in as a movie. I didn't feel like doing that. So if you look, what we're going to do next, I just want to show you these things, and we're going to move them over in just a second. So these are the images. All right. What I did, it's not that cool a thing or anything like that, but if I go out to images.google.com and I type in rock, paper, scissors, you'll notice if you go down a little bit, I was going to use this one, but I thought they almost looked too goofy. So I kept going down. Hopefully this is the right one. I think it is. Some of these at least. I used this one right here. And well, I used the equivalent. It wasn't this one, but it was like this one. But it's got the words rock, paper, and scissors on it, which I kind of liked. So I don't see it right now, and rather than me looking for it, you get the idea. Then I took this, saved the image, went into Paint, broke it up into 3 different images that were the same size. Does that make sense? So what you see in here, there's rock, there's paper, there's scissors. Does that make sense? All right. This is just going to be if the computer wins. I was looking for a nice computer image. I didn't really find one. So that's just the one I used. All right. And for you win, I found a you win, but I couldn't find anything that said like the computer wins. So that'll be you win. Okay? Now, when you look, one thing that I did was I made all of these 100 by 100. So I reset, I went back in and I resized them, okay? Now, what you're going to find is once we put those out on our screen, we're going to actually want them to be a little smaller than that, more like 90 by 90, but I didn't go back and change them. Also, if you look at these, okay, 250 by 190, 250 by 190, 250 by 190, and surprise, 250 by 190. I purposely set them up because I wanted it to look seamless, even if there's just a few pixel difference. Sometimes you can tell when you go back and forth, and it doesn't look as professional, in my opinion. Okay? So there's different ways that you can do this. We've talked about this before, but I want to tell you, I tried a different way earlier today, and I think this way worked the best. Okay? So what I want to do is I want to come up in here. I can now save and then close my strings file because we're not going to use this file anymore. All right. And I want to go down to my drawables right here. And you'll notice that what's in there right now is just the launcher, which is just the Android image. Okay. I can't make this. I can't make this. I can make this bigger, but I can't make that bigger. All right. So I brought them in one at a time because it seemed to work the best like that. So what I'm going to do is there's my drawable and here are my files. But the way that I did it that I found worked the most seamless was I right mouse clicked on it, chose copy, right mouse clicked on the drawable folder, chose paste, and just said OK and refactor. So that put the first one in. I'm just going to go through. I'm not going to repeat myself, but I'm going to put in the next 6. when you've finished, make sure there should be 7 extra images that you have in there. You can look on the screen, on my screen, in just a second as I put the last one in. So you should have in there computer wins jpg.jpg, paper.ping, rock.ping, rps.jpg.jpg, scissors.ping, tie.jpg.jpg, and you win jpg.jpg. Now, you might say, why do you have like jpg.jpg? At first, I had zip files for all these, and it didn't like it when the files were named the same, but one had a GIF extension and one had a JPEG or a PNG extension. So I just put the JPEG or PNG on there, whatever it was. That's why I did that. Okay. So now I can close this. Now, if we did it the other way, if you drag them over, it literally moves it, so you don't have it where it originally was. All right. This way, it just made copies. All right. Okay. So we're going to do this, not next. Next, we're going to go into our activity main. All right. First thing we're going to do in our activity main here is we're going to get rid of this hello world. All right. I'm going to give myself some extra room here. All right. And I'm going to go over into code mode, so to speak, right there. Again, you don't have to do this. I've said this before. But this XML namespace line, I'm going to put that on a line by itself. All right. Now, one thing you'll want to do is, for now at least, okay, you'll want to get rid of this and hit enter. And we'll put the ending one in later, so don't worry about it. In fact, if it really bugs you, then just put in a, and where is it? You can just go and put it in, manually or whatever. But don't worry about it, okay? Okay, so like I said, we're going to build this. I'm going to literally just give you all the code right now, and we're going to put in a text view, then we're going to look at it. Then an image button, then we're going to look at it. And the other image. So we're going to build this, and it's about 100 lines of code. All right, but we're taking our time here for 2 reasons. All right, one reason is I want us to get it right, and the other reason is it gives you a chance to ask questions, and I want to make sure you're understanding everything that's going on. All right, so the first thing we're going to put in here is a text view. All right, you already have heard me say this, but typically when you put in these controls like this, the first thing you want to put in there before everything else is the title. So I call this TV main title, and these are both wrap content. Okay. Set a margin here. A margin top to 16. I put DP, but I thought it would, well, okay, DP, right. Now, hopefully you realize that's the same thing as if I put it right on the top, and then where you've got the arrows and the stuff that's way on the right, I chose 16 in the drop-down list. All right. Now, if I'm going to put that in there, and that's going to get rid of, I thought it would get rid of this error, but I guess it didn't. Okay, but we will. It's still giving me an error because of that one that's up here. So let's just do this. I'm going to grab every bit of this, and then down at the bottom, on the bottom here, I'm going to put in an end tag like that. Okay? Now, I'm not sure why it's still giving me an error right here, but it is. Again, I'm not worried about it. It's going to be resolved in a bit. All right. So I'm taking for granted that you both have all this. The next thing, in fact, yeah. So after that, we want to put in the text, and guess what? We can use our @string And you'll notice when you do that, one of the ones, if we keep going in here, keep going down, there's main title. See that? So I can double click on it. There's a lot of ways you can do that. I think you can figure that out yourselves. All right. And text color, I just set it to black. All right. And there's different ways you can do that. I could say pound FF, or pound 000000, but just so you get used to seeing this, you can say add color / black. Now you may or may not have noticed when I did the add color / no, I didn't show it this time. I'm going to try it again. Add color /. Notice it gives me all the different colors. Those are all the built-in colors. Plus, I think the ones would be in there, the ones that we just added, the two that we added. But there's a bunch of colors that you probably haven't seen before. All right. Now, again, when you end up doing this for yourselves on your project, by that time, we'll have gone over Unit 5, which is on material design, and it's on how to make a really nice professional looking thing. This is going to look fine. Is it going to look professional? I mean, draw your own judgment. How's that? Okay, so text size. I want to set that equal to 30 SP. Text style. I want that to be equal to bold. And then this is what's going to basically set it up on the screen, so to speak. So I'm going to put in 4 different layouts. All right. So and this is just the order I did them, so it's not really that big a thing. End of end, and this will be parent. In fact, what I'm going to do, it's going to give me an error, but it's just going to result in me doing less typing. So all right, again, I'm getting that because I put the same thing in there 4 times. So don't let that bug you one way or the other. We'll fix it literally in just a minute. All right, so we've got end to end. Now we're going to put in here, and this was just me trying to line it up, just so you know. So I have in here constraint horizontal bias, and that's at 0.498. All right. The next one is start and start. Start to start of, and that's parent. And the last one is, the last one is top to top. And that's also parent. Now you'll notice if you look, all the errors have gone away. All right. And if yours, I'm not sure why that's giving me an error here. Cannot resolve symbol TV main title. I don't know why it's doing that. Okay, but we'll look in just a minute. Now if I go back into design mode, okay, it is not showing it. So there is something goofed up with it. But there it is. And it's got the ideas set here. Okay. So I'm trying to figure out in my own mind here why. Well, it's got the title is in here. You see it? So that's it. That's the text view. And if I go back again, I'm not sure why it's giving me that. Why that's giving me an error. I don't know. When I did it this morning, there's no problem. All right. So now we're going to put in our 3 image buttons. They're going to go right up across the top of the screen. Okay? And so right under our title, we're going to have the button that's going to have the picture of the rock on it with rock underneath it, then paper with the word paper underneath it, then scissors with the word scissors underneath it. Does all that make sense? Is it just me, or is it like unbelievably hot in here? So this is an image button. All right. And again, just like we did earlier, first thing we'll do is we'll put in the ID. Oh, you know why this is an error? I know why this is an error. Because you can't do it like that. You've got to put @ plus slash. Now I bet you that error goes away. Sure, make me a liar. Isn't that right? @ plus ID slash. There it is. Please change your first line so it looks like this. All right. Now our next one, and I'll leave that there for just a second. Our next one here for the ID will again be @ plus sign ID slash. And since it's an image button, I called it IBTN. All right. And the first one, as you probably guess, is rock. Again, if that's bugging you, just put in your end tag and the error there should go away. Yeah, make me a liar. It's not going away because we don't have any values for the width and the height. All right. I hard-coded these in, just so you know. I changed the size. So all of them, and it's funny because I'm looking here, and the height on all three of them is a little, and width is a little bit different, which is weird, but hopefully that'll be just fine. So this one says 111 dp for the width and 106 dp for the height. All right. We want to put a margin start in here of 32 dp. Hit enter a few times so that thing goes away there. So what doesn't it like here? Oh, because of older versions, you should also add the margin left. That's what's next. So I'm just going to copy this and make that left. And you notice, or you should notice, that the error went away. And I'm going to put a margin top on there, which is 16 dp. All right. Now we can put in that content description. And that was @string / content description rock, because this is going to be the rock. On click, when we call it in just a bit, it's going to be called user chooses rock. Now, why are we getting an error? Because we didn't make it yet. So don't let that throw you, please. All right. Let's see. So start to start of in here. This is parent. The top to bottom is going to be our main title. So so I don't screw it up, I'm going to copy that and paste it in here. And then that's interesting. It didn't. Okay, I'm not sure why I did it like that, but okay, that's old. Maybe that was why I was getting an error before. It could be. So let's see. All right. So again, the reason I'm getting the error right now in there is because we have not yet written user chooses rock. All right. Now if I go back into design mode, there it is. Okay, doesn't look like too much, but there it is. And I believe it would be showing us the image, but it's not because right now we don't have that routine written. Don't worry about it. It's going to come up in just a minute. All right. Now, the next one that we want to do is going to be our, probably guessed already, but it'll be the next image button. All right? It's going to be very similar to this image button. You don't have to do this, but I'm going to grab this, and I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to paste it in. Now, I'm going to get errors because, you know, it's got the same ID, etc., and I'm going to get that error down here, but we'll start changing those. I think that this is just going to mean that we have a little less typing to do. Does that make sense? Okay. So this will be IBI button paper. All right. And again, the width and the height, I don't know why mine are different, but they are. So I'm just going to leave them the way that I've got them in here. So this is 102. This is, I'm sorry, this first one is 102 and the second one is 104. All right. Then we don't need the margin start, the margin left, etc. We don't need any of these. So I'm going to get rid of them and go down to the content description. And this should be content description paper. I do want that horizontal bias that we talked about before, so I'll put that back in now. That's fine. And we want this user chooses paper. Does that make sense? You may have already changed yours. Totally fine. All right. So constraint end to start, we want that to be to our scissors button, which we don't have yet, so it's going to give us another error until we add the scissors button. So don't let that bother you. Okay. Like I said, don't let that bother you one way or the other. So. Next, we want to constraint horizontal bias, and that's going to be 0.409. And then we've got a start to end of, and that's going to be the rock one that's up here. Right? And then a top to bottom of the title, just like we had before. All right? And that's it for that one. Now, I want to mention a couple things. If you take a look up on the screen, please. I'm going to go back to design mode. Well, that looks funky, so we'll have to work on that. I'm not going to worry about it. But this, notice 16 and 32. Can you see these? That's what we put in, was the 16 and the 32. This one should say 16 and it's not. I might have missed something. I don't know. But it's right there. So if yours looks funky like that, just click on it, go up to here, and change this to a 16. I might have left one out. Not purposely, but I might have left one out. All right? And it doesn't look perfect. All right? We're going to put in the third one right now. You can always tweak this, right? You can always go back in here and tweak this if you want to. Because right now it looks like they're stuck together. We don't want that. But the reason they're stuck together is this end, this one right here, the end is supposed to stick to the other button that's there. That button doesn't exist. So it's got nothing to stick to. Does that make sense to both of you? All right. So I'm going to go back into code mode, and I'm going to copy the one that we just did. And this is going to be our scissors button in just a second. All right, so this will be button scissors. And what you'll notice is that error that's right there now went away. Okay, and this ended up being 112. Again, these, I might have to go back in and manually change these things. This was 106. That was 16. And this also had margin end, margin top, and margin right. 32 dp, what does it like layout? How did I get the word gone there? I don't know. So we've got a margin top of 16 dp. Oh, this should have been margin end. Of 32 dp and a margin right of 32 dp. All right, now before we go on any further, image button, image button, image button. I'm trying to figure out how I got all this stuff. I guess I did a copy. Get rid of that. Okay. All right. Then we need to put in the content description for this one. And this one again was an add string / content description, and the last one is scissors. So please make sure for those content descriptions, you've got one here that says scissors, you've got the middle one that says paper, you've got the original one that says rock. With me? All right, and you've got user chooses rock, user chooses paper, and in just a minute we're going to put in here user chooses scissors. All right, in fact, that's what's next. So our on click is going to be user chooses scissors. All right, and then we want a constraint end to end of, and that's the parent. And one last one, constraint top to bottom of, and that's just like the other ones, is going to be our title. Okay. If you've been able to follow along with me, then you should have 3 errors on your file right now, and that's for the 3 different routines we have not yet written. Does that make sense? So, before we even write those, let's do 2 things. First, let's go back into design mode, and you can see now it's looking a little bit better. See that? But let's do this. Let's go into main activity, and underneath the curly for on create, underneath that curly, let's write our 3 routines quick. So I'm going to type in public void user chooses rock view view. And since it's a void, it doesn't have to return anything, right? And it's red here. If I do an alt and hit enter and import the class, boom. And I'm just going to copy this a couple times. So I'm going to have user chooses rock, user chooses paper, and user chooses scissors. Do either of you have questions on what we just did? All right, and since I haven't saved in a bit, I'm going to do a file save all, and I'm going to go back to my activity main. Now what I should notice when I go back into design mode, to code mode, is there's no more errors in here. All right, so double check on yours too and make sure there aren't any errors, please. So what do we have? Well, I should have kept this up, but I didn't. But I mean, you get it. I know you both get it. But like I said, I know that, you know, when you said you're struggling a little bit, Keenan, I just want to make sure that everything we're doing makes sense. So far we built this right here, the title, and we built the 3 buttons. Does that make sense? So now we're going to build the next 2 buttons. All right. Now, these are not image buttons, these are just regular buttons. So, as always, we'll start out with our ID. And I just call it btn clear. The width and the height are both wrap content. Margin start of 64 dp. A margin left of 64 dp. Hit enter so this thing goes on a line by itself, because otherwise it's just irritating. All right. A margin top. And that's going to be 24 dp. All right, we're going to get another error, sorry, but this will be our on click. And we're going to just call this, I mean, I'm just going to use the same names I used when I did it before. And that is prepare for game. And again, you're getting an error because we have not yet written prepare for game. We'll do that in just a second. The text will be at string, and we want it to be our clear button. Not sting, but string. Two more lines and this one's done. Constraint start to start. And that's parent. One last constraint. Top to bottom. And that is the rock button. Okay, bring this up here. All right, so as we look at this, as I go back again into design mode, there's my button. Make sense? All right, not sure why it's not showing our images here, but we're going to get it to work. I'm not worried about it at all. It's going to work. In fact, I know what the error is. All right, so we've got that, and you can see it's pretty well, like I told you, kind of centered in between. If you decide you want to move it over a little, just do it. And if you move it over a little, it's going to change what's in the XML file. Does that make sense? All right. And then we want to do the stats. Okay. And again, you don't have to do it the way that I'm doing it. I'm just doing it in what I consider to be the most straightforward way, which again, you may agree, you may not agree with. All right, let's do this first. Let's go to activity main for our main activity file, and let's add that prepare for. So public void prepare for game. I think that's what we called it. Again, there doesn't have to be anything in there either. I'll know I called it the right thing because when I go back to here, I don't know why it's still showing me an error, but prepare for game. Prepare for game. All right. Hopefully it's going to work its way out. So that's for the on click. And again, we've got one more button to put in here. So I'm going to copy the button that I have in there, paste it in. This is going to be our stats button. So what do we have to change? Well, how about button stats? Wrap content, this will be 24. In fact, when is it 24? Oh, that's the top. So it's 24, 64, 64 are fine. This one is going to be called show stats. We're not going to write that one till tomorrow. just so you know. Okay, we won't write show stats until tomorrow. And does anybody know why I'm getting an error here? Know why I'm getting an error here? Because I have to put that @ plus ID slash at the beginning. As soon as I put that in there, this error should go away here, and the error will go away here. All right? Now, what the problem is, why this is still giving me an error on prepare for game, I don't know right now. I'm not going to worry about it right this second. In fact, let's see if we can figure out what the problem is. I didn't put view. View. See that? And while we're in here, let's do our show stats too. So public void show stats view. And just so you know, this first thing, this has to be view with a capital V. You see this? The second one you could call ref. A lot of times people call it V instead of the word view. It doesn't really matter. But hopefully you fix those, sorry. So let's do a save all and let's go back. Are you caught up, Keegan? Okay. So now notice that error went away for prepare for game. And we don't have an error for show stats either. Okay? All right, the text, no, we don't want that to be our clear button because this is our show stats button, right? So our text should be stats, btn, we've got not a start to start, but an end to end for parent. And a top to bottom of, and I just chose scissors. All right. We've got a text view to do, and then we're done with the interface, so we'll write code. All right. And if you look up on the screen, if I go back into design mode, whoa, that's got to be moved over. So there that is. I'm going to move this one over just a little bit too. To me, that looks pretty good. It's not perfect, but it looks pretty good. See that? That's going to skew the numbers in the XML file a little bit. All right. Now I'm looking on scissors here, and it's giving me this. It says consider adding a margin end to support left-right layouts. Then let's do that. So let's go to our scissors button. Rock, paper, scissors. So that's that one right there. And again, it says we should consider adding, come on, a margin end. Okay. So there's the scissors button. Well, we have a margin end.
I think it says on that one we have yours for app, not Android, on the side.
Gotcha.
No, the one above it.
One above it? Okay. Okay, thank you. Let's go back here and go back to design mode. And still showing me something on here. Considering adding Android layout margin end. Isn't that what we just did for the scissors? Scissors. Android layout margin end. I don't know. I'm not going to worry about it. I think it'll work its way out as we get through this, okay? All right, so the last thing to do, we're going to take a break after this, is to come in here and put in a text field. All right, as always, let's start this off with an ID. All right, and I call this @ plus ID/TV winner, so it'll have who won. Does that make sense? All right. And I did resize this, so I made the width 300 SP and I made the height 40 SP. Hopefully you'll see why when we get into it in just a minute. Margin top of 16 dp. Background that I made the color light blue. Gravity, set the center. Text size, you can jack with this one if you want to. I just kept it small. I just kept it at 14 SP. But you might want to make that bigger and resize this. Again, it's totally up to you. Text style was bold. Layout, oops, let's do it this way. Constraint, end to end, and that's parent. Horizontal bias, that's 0.495. I don't know how that happened. It should be app layout constraint. I don't know what I did there. There we go. 3 more lines. Start to start of is parent. And top to bottom is the stats button that we did up here. Right there. And end this. And that's it. Now, just so you know, and I think you do, but when we go back and look at this now, it doesn't look great. It doesn't look terrible, okay? But it should be just fine. Let's put it that way. And I'm looking right here, and I think, did I miss something? I just want to double check. Let's see, image button. Yes, I did. Okay, we'll fix that after the break. All right. But right now, so this will be rock, this will be paper, this will be scissors, clear and stats. This is going to have our winner. Make sense? In fact, let's do it right now. We'll put it right down here. That's fine. We're going to add the image view that's going to have the picture of who won. Does that make sense? All right, so let's go back into code mode. Let's go down to the bottom. And we're going to add an image view. Again, as always, we're going to start with our ID. Oops, what happened there? Okay, try that again. Sign, plus sign, ID slash. And I called it IV winner. It's the image view of the winner. All right, these are both wrap content. Even a margin top of 8 dp. The constraint description. Okay, it doesn't like that, so that's fine. Content description, not constraint description. So the content description, add string, content description, and this is IV winner. Okay. bottom to bottom. I want that to be parent. End to end, I want that to be parent. Horizontal bias, that's going to be 0.496. And it's not app flow, I'm sorry. I just hit the wrong one. So that is app layout underscore constraint horizontal bias. And you have to spell layout correctly. There you go. All right. Start to start. That'll be parent. Top to bottom. And that'll be this thing that we just created a minute ago. This TV winner. So I'm going to grab all of that. We're going to put a vertical bias in this one. So we've got a horizontal bias. We're going to put a vertical one in. 0.046. That's why those aren't showing. Okie dokie. And finish that. All right. And just so you know, now if I go, I'm going to save, and I'm going to go back. All right. And I'm going to go into design mode. And actually, this IV winner, it's there, but there's nothing in it. Does that make sense? So don't let that worry you one way or the other. We'll get that filled in just a minute. All right. But let's, before we take a break, let's get these images in here. All right. So come over and click on your first image that's right here. And they changed it. So see where it says source up here? Can you see where I am with the mouse under common attributes? All right. I want you to click, not the one with the toolbox or the little wrench there, but the one above it. Click there. Go over to here. Go under drawable and find rock. Pretty obvious what we just did. Go over to the next one. Again, go to source. Find paper. And go over to the last one. Again to source and find scissors. So we now have that. Let's see if we can get our image in there too. All right. So image. This one is a source compat. If you see that, I'm going to click there. And I'm going to choose the RPS JPG. So there's that. It's a little bit skewed because I had to change the shape of it like a real little bit, if you see that. Last thing to do, promise, then we're taking a break. Click some blank space in here, go up here and go to background. And I'm going to go to color. And I chose, for mine, I chose the light yellow. All right. Now, you feel free, you're not turning this in anyway, but it gives you a chance if you want to sit and play with this stuff, etc. And the only thing to check is I'm going to click on the rock here, and I'm going to go down to my on click and make sure that that is set. See that? User chooses rock. Going over to my paper. User chooses paper. I'm going over to my scissors. User chooses scissors. I'm going to my clear. Prepare for game. I'm going over to my stats. Show stats. Okay? Everything cool? All right. We're going to take a nice healthy break. It's 1:16. Let's come back, please, at 1:30. If you haven't saved in a while, it might not be a bad idea to do a save all. And when you come back, we're going to come in and write stuff into the main activity. Is this helping, Keegan? Now, just so you know, too, And again, you probably already do, but you know, with all this dinking around and writing it in code, all I was doing is like here, notice over here, if I come up here, you see how to the left that's 32? You see that? Well, that's the same thing that we put in the XML. Does that make sense? So it's all wired up right now, and you'll notice I'm not getting any errors, I'm not getting any warnings. Everything is wired up correctly. All right? The only thing that I didn't like about this, and it's on me because I didn't look at it first, but if I go over to here and I go to landscape mode, that's not good. See that? So there would have to be some work done on there, and I'll grant you that. All right, so I'm going to go back to portrait. I'm going to save it, and there should be no reason I can't run it right now. Now it's giving me some errors, but you can see it though. All right, that's the way it's going to look. This is the one that I did this morning, okay? And it pretty much looks the same way right now. We're going to disable the stats button because we're not going to do that one until tomorrow, okay? All right, so let's take a break. Okay, it doesn't like something on my scissors button. Font, line 87. I have an underscore right there. It's horizontal underscore bias. These are wrong. Did you hear that? Where I've got in here horizontal bias, it should be horizontal underscore bias. So check it for every place. I think there's 3 or 4 of them in here. The first one's right, the other 2 are missing. So this is how it should look. It should be horizontal underscore bias. But if you look at these 2, on this one, I didn't put in the underscore originally in line 97, and also in line 109, I didn't have it in there. I think that's why I'm getting an error when I'm trying to run it. Oh, still doesn't like something. I might have to go back in and do my build clean, build, rebuild, and do that twice. Still doesn't like something in here. Okay, how is it? Let's Right, so layout underscore constraint. That's it. So that's the way that it should look. Again, you're not turning this in. This was supposed to be an exercise, so if you want to play with it and do different things to it, go for it. When I redid this, I was still getting an error. It didn't like, it said line 87. It didn't like this line. I don't know what was wrong with it. So I went up to the earlier one that I know worked, the one that's right up here, and I copied all of this up to there, and then I pasted it into the other two, and then it worked. So, I mean, if you have that problem, I don't know why that would be. It looked like it was typed correctly to me, but it may not have been.